Okay, hello everyone. Right now you should be watching some fairly generic familiar footage right now of the Skyrim HD remake that Bethesda has of course announced at the E3 conference recently. And of course this doesn't really come as much of a surprise here. Okay, we've known for a while that they have done a sort of remake as a technical exercise when they were doing Fallout 4, and is it really that much of a surprise that they've decided to use this port to actually release an official updated version? Now, one of the things we do know is that this is so far only announced for the Xbox One and the PS4. We don't know if there's going to be a PC version, although, let's face it, it wouldn't be that much of a surprise if it was released for PC as well. After all, you can probably get the best performance still overall for any game on PC, so long as it's properly ported over. And now that we are of course out of the footage that they've released, the trailer that they released that showed you all the different examples of what you can expect, here's a little bit of footage from my own PC, using my GTX 970 as the graphical card of choice in my case. You may have a better card, so you might get slightly better graphics, but given the age of the game now, this came out back in 2011, even if you've got the very best graphics card, unless you've got some sort of graphical update to really give it an overall total overhaul, it's not probably going to look that much different from what I'm showing you right here. I mean, you can still see the game looks quite nice even today. The graphics are always going to age, that's always inevitable. But let's just talk about a few things that I would like to see. One thing that I would like to see straight off the bat is a slightly better control system as far as maps and menus and whatnot are concerned. One thing that really annoyed me, I'm an ex-console player now. I don't intend to buy a next-gen console or next-gen console when they come out. I'm just going to stick to the PC, but I do use the Xbox 360 controller. And as I found both on the Xbox 360 version and the PC version using the 360 controller, it's just a bit of a pain to have 3 different menu options. Can't we just have 2 different menu options and have everything just amalgamate together on that? I just found it a bit frustrating sometimes to just have that B button on the 360 just bring up a menu instead of actually doing something a bit more useful, a bit more practical. Don't get me wrong, I loved having the triggers alternating use for the left arm and the right arm. Okay, so you can have your spell in one hand and a sword in the other, or whatever weapon of choice you happen to have. I just found it a bit of a pain to have 3 different menus. 2 would have sufficed, and even then, it just seemed a bit pointless. That said, if you did have the B button, or whatever button it might be assigned to, if you had that used for, say, a climbing ability, that would be a lot more practical in my mind. That was one thing that was sorely missing in this game. You could climb to a certain degree, but that mostly meant jumping and jumping and jumping and jumping some more, and just sort of hoping that it would actually get you where you wanted to be. Look at another game from Bethesda, and we have, of course, Dishonored, which is getting the sequel. It's getting the sequel treatment with a fully voiced Corvo, whereas before he was just a silent protagonist, which has its pluses and it has its cons. I won't go into that right now, but one of the best things I loved about that game, while it was purely first person, you could actually climb, you had some free running abilities. You don't really have that in Skyrim, and if they're going to do a remake, could we include that kind of game mechanic? I know it'll change the game a bit, but at the end of the day, it's something that was sorely missing, that could have had so much practical application. For all they were very careful and tested the game very thoroughly to make sure there was no areas that you could get stuck in, there was occasionally, every now and then, areas that you could get stuck in because of how the lay of the land was, and the only way to get out of them was to fast travel, and if you were in the middle of a fight, you were kind of screwed. And it would be nice to have that as an option. So yeah, that's the menu. That's me bitching about the menu for a while. In general, I'd also like to have a menu that gave you a bit more freedom of selection, so to speak. Sometimes it just felt like you were very limited as to what you could do. You're going through list after list after list after list. Another thing with the gamepads is that the D-pad, which is nowadays normally used for selections, seemed to have nothing actually attributed to it. If you could have just said, have it used to pull up, say, certain favourite items, so you could have your favourite spell assigned to one button, your favourite weapon assigned to another, a potion of some sort assigned to, say, the up pad, and the down button could be used to bring up commands for your companion. That would have been absolutely brilliant in my mind, but you don't seem to really get that. The companion controls, in that regard, I don't mind having to go up to talk to them, but at the same time, I would still like to have had a bit more freedom to actually control them from afar, rather than having to go right up close to them. Similar with the horse. I mean, okay, some of the more magical horses, for example, you had to magically cast a spell, for example. That's not too bad, but when it came to a regular flesh and blood horse, if you got separated from it, kind of ruined things a bit. Other games have obviously made a great feature of being able to summon your horse from afar, just whistle and it comes, and that's great. But I would like to see a bit more control over the companions and the horses and stuff like that. Even giving it the option to have your living, breathing flesh horse go off somewhere and be somewhere safe, so that it doesn't end up risking getting killed in some bizarre actions. Speaking of action, here you can see me sort of free running through just outside Riverrun, and I'm about to be attacked by a spider. As you can see, it's just missed me with its gob of whatever that is. Webbing, I assume, but can't say for sure. At this point, I did have a little bit of problems with the controls again, just sort of bungling around all over the place, but I did eventually manage to find what I wanted. Going through the long list of weapons that I've got until I eventually found what I had. It had been a while since I'd played the game, so I had completely forgotten what my layout was, and I wasn't actually expecting to be attacked at this point. So that's why it's taken so long for me to find my spells and my weapons and everything. But here's one thing I would like. If we have an HD remake, can it also include things like more, better combat mechanics, for example, because I was never convinced that we were actually hitting our opponents. Even with the kill animations, okay, the kill animations, it's undeniable that you have actually killed them, but I would also like to see some more of those as well. Imagine if you could actually hack off the legs of a frostbite spider, for example, before you actually finish it off. That would look amazing. And likewise, I might very well have got a bit of bloodlust from having played The Witcher 3 a bit too much, but think about all those dismemberments. Imagine how good those would look in Skyrim. Okay, you've got the decapitation option. Okay, if you put enough points into whichever sword fighting skill that comes up, you've got that option there. But I would still like to see more dismemberments. Bloodthirsty, yes, but also rather appropriate given the circumstances. So yeah, we obviously know the graphics are going to be massively improved, and you can see from here, here's another saber cat. Okay, it's doing quite a lot of damage to me, and I've set it on fire, and I've killed it. Yes, good. It's gone. It's dead. It will bother me no more. And I've lost my train of thought now. What was I thinking? Yes, graphic. Bear, run. Yes, see, I could have done with some free climbing here. Yeah. So we know the graphics have obviously aged a bit, and the graphics are obviously going to look absolutely amazing from what we've seen on those demonstrations. But just how long is it going to be before they decide to make yet another remake? When the graphics have aged again. For a game that's about 5 years old now, this is still looking quite nice, quite sweet. And the areas do stand out quite nicely. In some cases, some of the smaller houses, the smaller areas, I forget the actual halls, that's the name. Some of the smaller halls do look pretty much the same as each other. So, you know, the larger ones tend to look quite sufficiently different, but even then, the smaller ones, it's like when you go into yet another one of the taverns and it looks more or less the same as the others. Just the benches are arranged slightly differently, or there might be a fire pit that's smaller than the others, or one of them might have an access hatch down to the ground level. They don't really look that different. And then the Jarl's log cabins all look to be exactly the same, bar the banners and the people that are in them and what the uses of the different rooms are. You know, if these are supposed to be grand statements of what the Jarl's wealth and power and so on is supposed to demonstrate, then it doesn't really work that well. And even then, seeing some of the states that the smaller houses are in, sometimes it doesn't really sell the idea of the absolute poverty some of them should have been in. But those are just some of my thoughts here. I've gotten off on a bit of a tangent. I have no script to work with. I'm just literally going off the top of my head here, just talking about some of the things that stand out. And I think that's basically it for the time being. That's my thoughts. I've taken up about 11 minutes of your time now, so if you've managed to survive this long, I thank you, I salute you. I do indeed salute you. But I do want to know your thoughts. What else could be done to improve Skyrim in a remake? Okay, whether it's just for the Xbox One, whether it's for the PS4, whether there's also going to be a PC version as well. What else can be done to make it look better, to play better, to feel better? Would you like to see other holds, for example, or new little villages that are out in the middle of nowhere? More characters, maybe more voice actors to provide more variety to the different characters that we have already. Because, let's face it, there was one time when I built a house and I hired a bodyguard to watch over the place, and she was voiced by Claudia Christian, and I was married to a character who was also played by Claudia Christian, and I had a companion, a follower, who was also played by Claudia Christian. Now, as much as I like Claudia Christian, okay, having 3 different characters with her voice didn't get annoying, it just got very bizarre. And the same is true for other circumstances where you've got different characters played by the same actor, using exactly the same recorded files. You know, some different variations, even if the actor is doing different things with their voices, that would perhaps be a bit more appropriate. But then you look at the cast list, and the cast list is already massive. I guess I'm thinking just different voice actors for, say, more minor parts, okay? So you don't have gods that sound like some of the more heroic, bigger name characters, for example. Well, I think that's basically it. I think I'll leave things as it is right now, and I'll thank you for watching and listening and surviving to this point. Let me know your thoughts below in the comments. Feel free to share the video, let other people come along and share their own thoughts on this prospect as well. And of course, let me know your thoughts as well. I'm always open to feedback, I'm always open to comments and views and opinions. That's pretty much what we're here for. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Now ain't this a surprise?